Bore da, I hope you're all okay. We are now up to chapter 14 of our book, The Beast of Buckingham Palace, and chapter 14 is called Eggy Weg. Nanny scoffed at the boy's suggestion. I'm afraid that's impossible. But why? Nothing's impossible. This is. Outside of Buckingham Palace, the Tower of London is the most heavily guarded building in Britain. It needs to be. It is home to the country's very worst criminals, revolutionaries, the worst of the worst, and the most dangerous of folk you want to see you dead. A look of panic flashed across the prince's face. Oh, I pray they don't hurt Mama. He held onto the lady's arm. Oh, Nanny, you must help me, please, I beg you. Mother is going to come to an end in the tower unless we do something, and fast. There, said Nanny, pulling the young prince to her chest. Your mother would hate to see you like this, wouldn't she? Alfred nodded. She wouldn't want you to be sad now, would she? The boy shook his head. So, come on, eat your breakfast. Without saying a word, the prince inspected the yellow and orange lump on the chipped china plate. It was, of course, Eggy Weg, exclaimed Nanny. Yes, I can see, replied Alfred, trying not to sound too disappointed. Oh, my special recipe, boasted the old lady. Eat up. Alfred couldn't see Nanny's Eggy Weg. Not this morning. He could really do without it. Oh, I will have it in a moment, thank you. No, she implored. Eat it all up now, every last bit. You are not well, my little prince. You need to get your strength up. Nanny settled in on the end of his bed. She smiled at him and nodded as if to say, go on. Alfred stared at the scrambled Eggy Weg. It looked as if there was plastic, and from experience it was going to taste like it too. He took a mouthful. Sting. There was that familiar bitter aftertaste again. Alfred winced. Without swallowing it, he lied. Delicious. Thank you, Nanny. Oh, good boy. Now eat it up while I tidy this room of yours. The old lady hopped off the bed and made her way to the window. As she ran her hands over the wood-warm holes in the frame, Alfred seized his chance. He spat the mouthful of Eggy Weg back onto his plate. Then he scooped up the lot and hid it in the drawer of his bedside cabinet. Oh, we must get these holes repaired. You'll catch your death of cold with this freezing air coming through. No, Nanny, please don't, replied Alfred. Without a key, this was the only way out of his bedroom. No, it has to be done, she said, turning around. At once she noticed the boy's plate was empty. Oh, you finished your Eggy Weg? Yes, thank you, it was very yummy. Immediately she was suspicious. That was very quick. Oh, I was starving. Oh, would you like some more Eggy Weg? No, replied the boy. I've had exactly the right amount of Eggy Weg. Good, said Nanny. Now I want to see you rest up in bed all day. Oh, but what about the Queen? Oh, Nanny, please, we have to do something. I'll keep my ear to the ground and bring you news as soon as I have it, she said, sitting next to him on the bed, stroking his head. I promise. Now back to sleep. With that, she left the prince's bedroom and locked the door behind her. Click. Alfred felt as if he were being held prisoner, just like his mother. That's the end of chapter 14. Chapter 15 is called Ruins. Despite not having eaten any of his Eggy Weg, Alfred felt more full of life than ever. As soon as Nanny had locked the door, he leaped out of bed. Instantly, he began his detective work. He made a big pile on the floor of all his ancient history books. The prince was looking for clues about the markings that had been chalked on the floor in the ballroom. However much he searched these books and many others, he couldn't crack the code of what he'd seen on the ballroom floor. The boy needed to take another look, and this time copy down what he saw for reference. Alfred opened the stationery drawer of his antique desk and grabbed a little notepad and a pencil. He stuffed them into his pyjama pocket for safekeeping. The sound of the siren that rang throughout Buckingham Palace for the beginning of what the night's curfew could soon come to an end. We are. This was the time when all those inside the palace had to be safely in the rooms in case of an attack from outside. Alfred blew out his candle and shuffled over to the window on his knees. The searchlights that scoured the walls of the palace looking for intruders passed by his window much more regularly than normal. It was almost as if the royal guards were waiting for him. Alfred didn't dare risk it. The problem was that the only other way out of the door was locked from the outside. If he were going to carry on with his detective work, he had to think fast. Hearing the wind whistle through his fireplace, whoosh, Alfred realised this might be the only way out of his bedroom, so he pulled the grate aside and squeezed his skinny little body into the flue. It was dark and sooty in there, but because the flue had been made of bricks, he could use them to climb up the rugs of the ladder. As his bedroom was on the top floor, it was only a short climb to the roof of Buckingham Palace. When he reached the top, he disturbed some of the pigeons that were nesting there. Squawk, squawk, squawk. This alerted the royal guards who were keeping watch over London from the roof. Alfred kept himself hidden inside the chimney as one of the fearsome royal guards left the station to have a closer look. When the last pigeon flew out of the chimney top, squawk, 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 the guard returned to his post. Slowly and silently, the boy climbed out the top of the chimney, and for the first time in his life, he was standing on the roof of Buckingham Palace. As the dark clouds swirled above him, he looked across London. Now he had a 360-degree view of the city, a city that he studied in books, one that had the most famous skyline in the world. I'll show you this picture. Now it was all in ruins. Alfred thought what might have told him. She told him of the poor people down there scurrying around in the dark with little food and no clean water, surviving from day to day. They were people too, but they had been reduced to living like animals, only because he'd been born a prince and that he was in the palace and they were down there. No wonder there was talk of a revolution. Alfred was beginning to think that maybe revolutionaries weren't the baddies after all. He was determined to do something to help the people of Britain. This was not how the country should be. Then Alfred heard a sound of something flapping in the wind. Flip, flap, flap. Looking up, he saw the flag of the Griffin on top of the flagpole. How he wanted to tear down that flag and hoist the Union Jack. One day, he thought, one day. The Union Jack had been a symbol of the country for hundreds of years. Now it was the flag that bound together by the revolutionaries, and as such had been outlawed by the Lord Protector. The black clouds in the sky above Buckingham Palace parted, and a huge airship sailed into view. On its side was the same image of the Griffin. The airship was used by the Lord Protector to control the people outside the palace. And right on cue, the projector of the roof of the palace flickered into life. It beamed a shaft of light onto the envelope at the top of the airship and part that contained all the gas. The envelope was like a cinema screen. An image of the golden griffin appeared, and then it faded and was replaced by the face of the Lord Protector. This is what it looked like. People of Britain, he began. I, your Lord Protector, have an important announcement. Alfred watched from his hiding place behind the chimney stack. The revolutionaries struck again last night. St. Paul's Cathedral, a very sacred place of worship, was destroyed. This is a new loaf from a secret organisation that has brought only death and destruction to this land. Sadly, this now calls for extreme measures. After consulting with the king, there is a new law against traitors. Anyone found on the streets after 8 p.m. will be considered a revolutionary. As such, members of the king's army or the royal guards will shoot on sight. Alfred shuddered. This was even more dangerous than he thought. He looked across the roofs of London Tower towards Big Ben. The clock on the tower was about to strike 8. I wish you good night, ended the Lord Protector, as his face flickered to black and the airship disappeared back into the clouds. Bong! 8 o'clock, Alfred gulped. Might the royal guard shoot him on sight too? Alfred scuttled across the palace roof. He found a small hatch, which he carefully opened and clambered through. Next, he dangled by his arms for a moment before dropping down onto the carpet below. Thud. Now he was back inside the palace, and tonight's adventure could begin. That's the end of chapter 15. Tomorrow morning I'm going to read chapter 16. Chapter 16 is called Spying Through a Keyhole. I hope you're all okay. Please give me an email. I'm missing you lots and lots and lots. Bye!